I thought I was just there for the will. Until the lawyer read one sentence. My aunt dropped her wine glass. My cousin cursed out loud. And my mother? She covered her mouth like she might throw up. All those years they called me the failure. The joke, the charity case. But now, I owned everything. And I didn't even flinch when they begged. My name is Noah Blake. But for most of my life, that name meant nothing. Not to them. The Blake family was known for one thing: power. Old money. Big names. A legacy written in stone. My grandfather, Walter Blake, was the head of it all. A tycoon. A control freak. A man who treated reputation like religion. He had 3 children. My uncle Martin. My aunt Elaine. And my mom Helen, his biggest disappointment. Because she married for love. Not status. My dad was a mechanic. Hardworking. Honest. But not a Blake. When he died, I was 12. That's when the whispers started. Noah's not like the others. He's a little different. Poor Helen. She got the short end of the stick. They never said it to my face. But they didn't have to. It was in every glance, every forced smile. My cousins were the golden ones. Trevor, Martin's son. Ivy League. Fast car. Empty heart. Sadie, Elaine's daughter. Insta famous. Champagne smiles. A ring worth more than my old apartment. Daniel, the youngest. Silent. Sharp. Cruel in private, sweet in public. They were the future Blakes. And me? I was the other one. The one who wore hand-me-downs to Christmas dinners. The one who didn't get included in family trips. The one who got ignored during toasts. One Thanksgiving, Grandpa stood up with his wine glass and said, "To the next generation, Trevor, Sadie, and Daniel, you make this family proud." I was sitting 2 feet away. He didn't even look at me. That was the moment I stopped trying. Stopped hoping. Stopped waiting to be seen. I moved out at 20. No help. No handouts. I lived in a shoebox apartment and ate ramen 6 nights a week. But I had a laptop. And a skill no one saw coming. Cybersecurity. I started freelancing. Then consulting. Then building. At 23, I launched my own firm. 12 clients in 6 months. 30 by the end of the year. No one in my family knew. They never asked. And I never told them. By 27, I had a team, an office downtown, and a bank account big enough to shut them all up. But I stayed quiet. Because silence is how you build power without noise. My phone buzzed on a Monday morning. Walter Blake, deceased. I didn't feel much. He wasn't cruel. Just cold. Calculated. I went to the funeral because it was expected. Not because I cared. Everyone else showed up in designer suits and fake sadness. I wore black and didn't say a word. I sat in the back. Not because I was ashamed. Because I was watching. The way Trevor smirked when people offered condolences. The way Sadie checked her phone between prayers. The way Daniel shook hands like he was already head of the table. They weren't mourning. They were waiting. For the inheritance. 3 days later, I got the email. Subject: Reading of the Last Will and Testament of Walter E. Blake. Date: Friday 9 a.m. Location: Blake and Hunt LLP. I almost deleted it. But something told me not to. Not because I expected anything. Because I knew they did. And whatever happened in that room, I wanted to see it with my own eyes. Leather chairs. Polished table. A view of the city. Everyone was already there when I walked in. Trevor raised an eyebrow. Sadie whispered something to her fiancé. Daniel didn't look up from his phone. I sat at the far end. No reaction. No expression. Just patience. The lawyer, a man with silver hair and a sharp voice, cleared his throat. Mr. Blake's final will is simple. No trusts. No hidden clauses. Just clear instruction. He began. Charity donations. Minor assets. Then. To Trevor Blake, my grandson. The 1969 Mustang. Trevor smiled. To Sadie Blake, the Aspen property. She squeezed her fiancé's hand. To Daniel Blake, a 15% stake in Blake Holdings. Daniel finally looked up. Then the lawyer turned a page. And to Noah Blake. Everyone looked confused. Even my mother. I leave all remaining assets. including the Manhattan residence, remaining shares in Blake Holdings, investment portfolios, and private accounts. Noah Blake is the sole beneficiary. Silence. Long. Loud. Shattering. Trevor laughed once, sharp and bitter. Sadie muttered, "That's not possible." My aunt stood up. "This must be a mistake." The lawyer didn't flinch. "It's not." I sat there. Still. Composed. Cold. Inside, my heart was racing. Not from shock. From satisfaction. They thought I was nothing. They said it behind my back. In front of me. To my face. And now I was everything they couldn't control. Because Walter didn't just leave me wealth. He left me the one thing I was never supposed to have. The Blake legacy. And I had no plans to share. They didn't speak to me after the will was read. Not one word. Not Sadie. Not Trevor. Not Daniel. Not even my mother. They just stared. Like I had stolen something that never belonged to me. But that's the thing. It did. I didn't ask for it. I didn't beg for it. I earned it by staying silent while they spat in my direction for years. Now the name they used to weaponize against me belonged to me. The company. The house. The power. But I wasn't done. Because what Walter gave me wasn't just money. He gave me the keys to everything they thought was theirs. And I wasn't going to keep quiet anymore. After the will reading, I left without saying a word. I let them simmer. Let the silence grow heavy around them. Let the whispers start. I went straight to the Manhattan penthouse Walter left behind. The one none of them knew he kept fully furnished. It was untouched. Old books. Crystal glasses. A painting of my grandfather hanging like a ghost. And a letter. My name on the envelope. In his handwriting. Inside it said, "Noah, I was wrong. I watched you from a distance. I never thought you'd become the man you are now. I judged you before you ever got a chance. This is yours now. Not just the wealth. The responsibility." I stared at those words for a long time. Not because I forgave him. But because it was the first time in my life someone in this family had acknowledged me. Without comparison. And just like that, I knew what I had to do. No flashy revenge. No screaming matches. Just quiet decisions. Powerful ones. The next week, I contacted the board of Blake Holdings. Walter's shares made me the majority stakeholder. And I exercised my voting power. Trevor, who was expecting a cushy executive role, removed from consideration. Daniel, who was already interning at the foundation, blocked from full-time hire. Sadie, who had plans for a Blake-sponsored influencer brand, funding canceled. Silently. Officially. Legally. They didn't even realize it was me until the letters went out. One by one. Rejections. Closures. Freezes. Then the calls started. My phone rang nonstop. Trevor. Ignored. Sadie. Ignored. Daniel. Sent to voicemail. Even Mom texted. "Can we talk?" I didn't respond. Not yet. Because the truth was, they weren't calling to check on me. They were calling because their world was unraveling. The next move? The Blake family reunion. Annual. Formal. Mandatory. Always held at Walter's estate in Connecticut. And now, I owned that estate. I could have canceled it. But I had something better in mind. I had the staff prep the house. I had the chef cook all of Walter's favorites. I had fresh nameplates printed for every guest. And I made sure mine was right at the head of the table. When the day arrived, I walked in like I'd always belonged there. Because now, I did. They all looked at me. Confused. Uncomfortable. Some even afraid. But no one said anything. Until my uncle finally stood up and asked, "Oh, Noah, are you planning to run things now?" I looked at him. Took a sip of water. Then stood. "I'm not planning anything," I said. "I'm already running them." You could feel the oxygen leave the room. That's when I saw Trevor clench his jaw. Sadie whisper to her fiancé. Daniel fidget in his seat. I looked at each of them. Calm. Quiet. In control. "I don't need apologies," I said. "I don't need validation. But I will be respected. And if you can't do that, feel free to leave." No one moved. No one spoke. So I sat down. and started eating. It was the first real family dinner I'd had in years, and it tasted like peace. After the reunion, they finally stopped pretending. There were no more backhanded compliments, no more fake smiles, no more forced invitations. Because now I was no longer the outsider. I was the one they needed, and they hated that more than anything. I didn't go looking for power, but when it came, I didn't run from it either. I took over Walter's position at the board, restructured key investments, cleaned up the foundation's books. Turns out, Sadie had been funneling money into side projects that didn't exist. And Trevor had been using company cars like they were toys. Daniel? He was still in school, but not even enrolled. I had everything audited, documented, filed. Then I called a meeting. Boardroom. 10 a.m. They walked in smug, thinking they could explain. I didn't let them speak. I played the evidence. One by one. On the screen. Cold. Clear. Unavoidable. Sadie turned pale. Trevor stared at the table. Daniel just froze. I handed them papers. Termination. Legal notices. Official. Final. Uncontestable. Trevor finally stood up. You're doing this just to get back at us. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, Trevor. I'm doing this because I've earned it. And because I refuse to let this family rot from the inside any longer. They left one by one. No goodbyes. Just the sound of broken pride echoing down a marble hallway. After that, everything changed. The press picked up the story. Young tech CEO restructures billion-dollar family empire. People started reaching out. Former Blake employees. Silent cousins. Even old friends I hadn't heard from in years. But I kept my circle small. Focused. Clean. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was rewriting the legacy. A year later, I hosted a charity gala. In Walter's name. For underprivileged youth in tech. Hundreds came. Donors. Leaders. Innovators. Even my mother. She came quietly. No pearls. No wine glass in hand. Just a small envelope. Inside was a photo of me at age 10. Sitting on Walter's porch alone with a book in my lap. She looked at me and said, "He never saw you. But I did. I just didn't know how to fight for you." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Because I wasn't that boy anymore. I was the man who didn't need to prove anything. Later that night, a guest asked me, "Noah, how does it feel to have taken back your name?" I smiled. It doesn't feel like I took anything. It feels like I built something. And no one can take that away. The story didn't end with the will. It started there. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud. It's steady, calculated, permanent. And it doesn't come from anger. It comes from becoming someone they never thought you could be. If you've ever been labeled the failure, just remember, your silence can speak louder than their judgment. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs a quiet win today.